Hi.
How are you?
Tired.
Okay, here we are. It's Lazy Parenting Day. Our early, what am I calling this? I call this our Lazy Parenting Morning Show.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is it still morning? Yeah, it is. Here.
It is. We should go for lunch after this.
Yes.
Do you want to join us? Who wants to join us for lunch? Okay, so I have been pretty active on the blog in the last little bit.
Yes.
I set myself a goal to try to, it was pretty good there for a bit, doing one a day.
Mm-hmm.
But if I set a goal of one a day, then maybe I'll get my, for sure, once a week and 3 times a week or whatever. So this week I decided to do a blog post on, well, a lot of my last couple ones were about strong-willed children.
Right, which you have a few of.
But don't we all, like, aren't all kids strong-willed and like little buggers?
Well, I think they go through stages where they are for a bit and then they aren't and then they are and they aren't. All depends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so I decided, I've done a couple things about strong-willed kids and how maybe you can try to alleviate how much stress that is in your life. I look very brown.
Yes.
On Instagram. And Facebook, not so much. From being at a track meet for 2 days with my kids.
I need to come because obviously I'm very pale.
It was a long weekend. It was really, really long. My husband has a cousin in Kelowna,
mm-hmm.
and she does videos. Remember I was telling you?
Oh,
she
yes.
does like funny videos of her dressed up and all that. And then I listened to what her latest one was, and it was, I need a vacation. And like, she was saying, well, even though people say it was like the long weekend up here in Canada, it was the long weekend this past weekend. She's like, yeah, if you have kids, there is no such thing. You need a vacation from a vacation.
Yes.
I feel like that. I need a vacation from my long weekend. I need a long weekend from my long weekend.
Well, that's why they're at
really
school,
long.
to give you a break.
Yes, some of you moms don't have your kids at school yet. When they do go to school full time,
it's a whole new world.
A whole new world.
Though I do miss them at the same time.
I was talking to a mom who, actually my hairdresser.
Oh, yes.
Yumi. You should go see her at Design Tech. She's lovely. She does a pretty good job. Her kids are older and graduating her second one. And she's like, it's a whole different thing, Stephanie, she said. She goes, it's like, I'm home at night.
It makes me sad to think about it.
She goes, I got nothing to do. Like, no sports to go to anymore. Like, her kids are both really active in hockey and other things. And she's like, I got nothing to do. She goes, so let me know if your kids have a basketball game and I'll just come and cheer you on. And I said, for sure, just come and join us.
Right, what do you do? I mean, we're a long way off. We have 9-year-olds and I have a 7-year-old, so.
True. Even, yeah, I have a lot of kids that span a very large time.
Yes.
Anyway, so hopefully some people will jump on. You can share this video. If you're watching this video.
Hi, Sophia.
If you're watching this video after the fact, if in the comments you can write #replay, then I know how many people are watching the video after the fact versus how many people are watching the video from the beginning, like while we're live. And so, yeah, strong-willed kids, little buggers. How can you get those kids to do what you want them to do? So it's going to be like a 2-part series. I've posted the first blog post with my first 5 ideas. Mm-hmm. And then later today, I'm going to post the part 2, which has another 5.
10 tips is pretty good.
Oh yeah, they're all very like intermingled, and so as we go through the 5 today, you'll see that actually there's someone's vacuuming outside our office, so hopefully you can still hear us. So you'll actually see that they all are very intermingled because ultimately, my biggest thing about parenting is if you can remember 2 things: that all of your children, all they want is power over their own lives. And what's the other one?
I don't know. Can't put me on the spot. I had that one in my mind. Obviously.
Yes, that one. That's the one we're going to talk about.
So they want to make decisions.
Right. They want to make decisions. They want to have control. And so if you have a strong-willed kid, then for sure that's something that you have to think about. And if you are constantly buddying with them, you're not going to get anywhere. And depending on your own personality, that's a big challenge. So I'll talk about that as we go through. So ready for the 5 tips? 5 tips coming at you. Tip number 1, which I talked about yesterday, was can you allow your children to learn through experience? So can you think of things that happen in your day that you fight with your kids about, or that you like, not fight, but get into arguments over, maybe fight, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like,
that you can just let go of. And so if you're a control freak, this can be a little bit hard, But what are some things that they can just do? Like if they want to do it, okay, go do it. Even though you know better and you know that it's not going to work, is there things you can just let happen and then let them have the natural consequence for whatever it is?
I'm trying to think. I can't think of any. My kid's kind of the opposite.
Won't do anything.
They want my help to do everything.
Okay, so we'll get there in a second. Okay, and so I think my first one that I talked about were things just like they want to do something themselves, right? And so they want to put their own jacket on, right, themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or do up their buttons, and their buttons are all mishmashed or whatever. Yep. Like, and then not caring about it and just letting them do it and have the pride of having done the job themselves. Like, there's some things you don't have to argue about. Like, just let them do it.
Yes, I'm definitely getting better at that.
I think of it as like, even in marriage with your husbands or your children, if they're teenagers and they're doing chores, like letting them do it. And even though it's not done the way that you would do it, letting it go that it's not as the same way. I'm not going to say like as perfect as you might do it, but let them just do it and then be happy that they did it.
Right.
And try not to come back with a, well, you didn't do this, or you didn't do this, or da 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 da. So that's tip number 1, learning through experience, trial and error. Number 2, again, these are kind of on the same path. Number 2 is mastery and autonomy. So again, can you let them feel like start teaching them to take responsibility for their own things? So a good one for this is like homework for school. Did they take their instrument to school? Did they get all their forms? Did they get their homework? Did they take their lunch? Yep. Like what are the things that they should be doing in order to get themselves out of the house in the morning? Yeah. And so how can you do that in a way that doesn't cause confrontation in the morning? Do you have this with your kids? Like trying to get, what are all the things that have to get done before you leave the house in the morning? They're
pretty good. Like now they make their own breakfast and I have to ask them to get dressed and brush their teeth, but the older one will do it. Like I'm talking about my boys, not my daughter. She does everything herself. The older boy will go and get dressed and won't fight, and he'll brush his teeth and he won't fight. But the younger one just wants me around him all the time. So he wants me to help him brush his teeth because he wants me to be there. He wants me to help him get him dressed, even though he's fully capable of doing all the things. So sometimes when, like this morning, I woke up late. I actually was dreaming, and I looked at the clock and I thought it was earlier. Anyways, I slept until 7:45, just when I texted you. And that's quite rushed. We leave at 8:30 to go up to the school. And so I wanted him to get things done himself. And so
we talked about that because it's a little bit of a different issue, but we talked a little bit about how praise and how switching it off, like using that as a way to try to help them. And does that help at all with him? Yeah. So it's just trying to stay consistent with that, right? So for this one, the example that I give in the blog post is about getting out of the house in the morning. And so how can you help get your kids out of the house in the morning without saying, go do this, go do this, go do this, but more so, okay, great. Like the more parenting and these kinds of strategies and systems you start when they're little, the easier it is. It's always really hard to change something up on a kid. Like if you've done something from a young age and then all of a sudden you're putting new rules or new expectations on them, especially with a strong-willed kid who's used to it being a certain way, you're going to have a big explosion from that, right? So this one was about you have a task list of things that need to get done before you leave. You need to brush your teeth, you need to have breakfast, you need to be dressed, you need to have your backpack packed, right? And so if you, your child you're about to leave, or not about, because that's going to set you up for failure right there, but 20 minutes before you have to go. I give them
a countdown now because it was getting they don't like that we're leaving now business and they're not ready. So I give them a countdown. And so I do 15, then 10, then 5. And that has helped a lot because now I'm not arguing with them to get down the stairs. They know that when I say it's time, for the most part, they then go. Okay. And so you could use language like, you could just ask have you had breakfast, right, to your child, and they say, yeah, or they say no. And you go, well, we need to have our teeth brushed. We need to be dressed. We need to have our backpack packed and our lunch packed. Those are the things that have to get done before we leave. We're leaving in 15 minutes, right? And then
help encourage them that way to get it done.
Yeah, that works.
The countdown time thing works well. And the other thing about mastery and autonomy just goes into time. You have to build the time into your day. Like if it was like you had to leave in 5 minutes and you hadn't front loaded what was about to happen. That's another term I really like is front loading. You have to front load the children so that they know what's going to happen next or what the expectations are. That really, really helps. So same idea is you have to build time. So you want them to do it themselves. So tying shoes. I just remember tying shoes.
That used to be so frustrating.
Right, it takes forever. But they really, really, really want to do it themselves. And so no, if you're leaving in 5 minutes and you tell them, okay, let's put our shoes on, it's time to go. Yeah. You're going to be so frustrated as a mom by them. And then you'll be like, okay, just come here. Let me just do it.
Yes.
And then you'll just do it. And then you've just like deflated them. No, I want to do it. And then you get into an argument with them over that. And so really making sure you build time so that they can do these things by themselves that they want to do by themselves.
Yeah.
Another really simple one is walking somewhere. I remember the little one, like, take forever because she'd pick up every flower and touch every piece of grass. And so I learned that I just had to build extra time into walking to the community center for a class or, wherever we were going that day. Just I had to build in more time. And for sure, it takes more responsibility on me to do that, but it does. But by letting her do that and knowing how to tie her shoes, I swear to God, there's a boy that I know that was in grade, I don't know if it still happens, grade 9, and his mom was still tying his shoe.
Oh, I can beat that. I just learned that my somebody I know that is like 30 still takes his laundry to his mother's house to do, and because she wants to do it as well.
So doing that,
right? Can you imagine?
Okay, so that was number 2. So number 1 was learning through experience. Number 2 was mastery and autonomy. So helping your kids do that, because strong-willed children want power over their lives. It's really like the ultimate thing. So how can you as a parent give your children those things? You can let them learn through experience and be okay that. You can help them with their mastery by building in time and systems into their day so they can do that.
And this is stuff that you want to give to me, this is the easy part. Like if they want to do these things for themselves and that's where their power is, then that saves me the argument for other things later.
Right, because you want to save your, I don't know why that went dark. Okay, you want to save the times that you're going to butt heads with what your rules are. And we're going to come to that. That's number 5. So number 3 is choice. So it's really, really, really important, again, because this idea that the kids want a control over their lives and power is really important that you offer them choice rather than tell them what to do. Yeah?
This is like the number 1 problem I have. I probably should have said that with my husband. Is he'll just say, what do you want? Like, what do you want for breakfast? And I'm like, that's such an open-ended question and my children have a hard time making decisions. And so they will not give him an answer. And then he gets frustrated by that and then it carries on. And I keep reminding him that he should just say this or that. Like, choose 2 things. It doesn't matter what it is, because then even if we're like, let's go to dinner. Where do you want to go for dinner?
I was just going to say that. That's like my daughter who's 9, almost 10. Yeah. I'll be like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you, like, let's say we're going to pick something up on the way to the gym or whatever before a sport. I'll be like, well, what do you want to pick up? And she's like, I don't know. And then I get immediately frustrated. Well, I don't want to pick, Yes. And so it is giving choice. So in your own mind, you have to know what are acceptable choices and then give them those choices. We had one comment on the Facebook post about shoes, like still struggling with like them picking the wrong pair of shoes. And so rather than saying, okay, go get your shoes on and let them pick whatever, again, it's age dependent on how old the kids are, but letting them go pick any pair of shoes out of the closet, you can do a couple things. One, you can take out all of the inappropriate shoes out of the closet.
Sandals in winter.
So don't have the flip-flops or the sandals down there in the wintertime. I did this with clothes. So a big thing to me was my kids getting dressed on their own. So I just took out, like, there was nothing in there that I would have been upset with them wearing. And so that way, okay, they can go and pick whatever they want to wear that day. And again, you have to be okay with them not being matchy-match and let them be them and they do them. Yeah. You do you is what I say in my family. But with shoes, that's a big one. Like, don't have boots down there if you don't want them wearing boots, or don't have sandals if it's winter and puddles. Or, so that's one option. limit their choices with what's available. Same for food in the house, like what they can reach, give them their choices so they can
Don't put the chocolate chips on the bottom.
Right. And then the second way you can do that, though, is give them a choice. So say, okay, so Susie, I need you to get your shoes on. You can wear or not you can, because then again, that's me saying what she can or can't do, but rather saying, okay, Susie, it's time to put your shoes on. Go pick out either your red shoes or your yellow shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Or go pick out your yellow boots or your purple boots today. Again, that's young age. It changes as they get older, right? And what kind of choices you're giving them. So that's number 3. So number 1 was learning through experience. Number 2 is mastery and autonomy. I wrote them down because I can't remember them all. Number 3 is choice.
Good idea.
And number 4 is autonomy over their own body. So this is a lesson I think is really, really important to teach your kids from a very young age, that their body is their body and that ultimately they get say over what happens to their own body. And I know this is a hard one because you're like, I mean, even moms who have little babies out in their stroller and they don't put socks on their baby and then they get the old lady coming up to say, you should have a hat and jacket on your baby, right? And you're like, screw off. I can decide what I want for my baby.
Yes.
My baby never wore socks because they hated socks, or they were always hot. Like a couple of my kids have always been hot. They don't care about jackets. And so same idea about what if they get dressed or whether they put a jacket on. Like, I don't care. Like, okay. But then also it's really important that they suffer the consequences of that without you saying, I told you it was going to be cold, or not allowing their poor choice to then oh, well, then you go back and save them. Like, make sure you're not saving them from it. You might suggest if they're younger and they can't make those choices really quite yet themselves, you could suggest things like, well, hey, I think it's going to rain later. Why don't we just put your jacket in your backpack?
That's what I do.
And then you have it in case you need it.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson that actually, I'm surprised, takes a while to learn. And I don't know if it's because they feel like they've lost control just by letting you put the jacket in the backpack, or so I have to rephrase it a little bit. Like, we might as well throw it in the car. Who cares? Like, if we're going somewhere, like, we might as well throw boots in the car. Because what if you need them? Or what if you need your jacket? And it's just, even now, like, as teenagers, it's still like, well, what if you, until they kind of get there. And maybe that's a personality thing. Maybe some people are more, like, impulsive and don't care.
Right. And I find that also kids are living in the moment. So if they see that it's sunny out, they don't necessarily think that it's going to be anything but that later on. So they don't believe you.
And that was one of the pieces when I was researching for what I was going to write about for this blog, was one of those things. Like, your kids in the house, they're hot, they're warm. They don't get that when they walk to school and it takes 15 minutes, that at minute 12, they're going to be really cold and wet. Like, they don't get it.
No.
Same ideas, like if I've had kids who hate boots, and I don't buy boots. I don't know why. We don't have boots in our house. And so they've often walked to school with shoes and socks. And so it's been a lesson about, well, why don't you just pack an extra pair of socks just in case, so you're not uncomfortable for the whole day. And it's just, I'm not telling them to do it, but I'm giving them some suggestions. And then this whole thing comes around, really, in parenting, I think the key is that you keep a relationship with your child. Mm-hmm. Oh, Olivia, what are we discussing? We're discussing top today 5 strategies for dealing with strong-willed children and how to get your kids to do what you want them to do without getting into fights with them. So how can we, I'm going to say, like, manipulate them in many ways so that they do what we're hoping that they're going to do without them getting into a headbutt with you and arguing and fighting all the time. So there's a blog post. I posted 5 yesterday, and I'm going to post another 5 today. So we're talking about the 5 things. So today we talked about letting your kids learn through experience. Number 2 was mastery and autonomy, letting them do things for themselves and taking the time for that. 3 was giving them choice in what they do. Number 4 was autonomy of their bodies. And so that's what we're talking about right now. What was I talking about really quickly before that? How important, about ultimately though, your children and you, it's your relationship that you're trying to build with them. And so if you are constantly barking orders at them or things like that, your relationship is going to be strained. So by doing suggestions and them seeing that you know what you're talking about, but without saying, I told you so, they're going to trust your opinion for the next time that it happens. Absolutely. So that's what you can do, is offer them choices. Good. We have a toddler. Yeah. And so giving them that autonomy. Another couple of things around autonomy of their body. This one, number 4, is about their own body and letting them decide what is okay for their body. This goes to even things like hugs.
I know.
Right? That's the one. Like if your child doesn't want to hug somebody,
don't make them.
Right. You know,
they're strangers or like the aunt that they never ever see.
Right. And even though as simple as like if I have so we coach a lot of kids, even if I put my hand up for a high five and they don't want to do that, or a parent is like, don't be rude, you know,
yes,
that's okay. I always say, hey, you know, whatever, that's not a big deal. There was on Facebook once did you see that with a teacher outside of the classroom had 5 ways that the teacher would greet the children coming in? Did you see that? So they could either have a hug, they could either get a high five, they could either do a fist pump, they could laugh, I think, together or something, or tell a joke, and I can't remember. There was like 5 little ways that they could interact with each other that didn't involve getting into their space. So as far away as just a talking or a high five or a fist pump, all the way up to like an intimate hug, not intimate, but a hug. And so again, that's autonomy over their body. I think this is a big one. The other one was around showers and baths. And so how do you get into fights with your kids over bathing and showering?
Not so much. My 9-year-old and my 12-year-old shower on their own. No longer, I cannot enter the room with my 12-year-old daughter. She's right, and that's fair enough. But if she has something wrong, she will let me, not wrong, but if she gets rashes sometimes, so she'll let me take care of that. Whereas my 9-year-old, he has showers on his own. He'd prefer if I didn't see him naked, but again, if something was wrong, he would still let me, whereas my little 7-year-old still runs around the house totally naked and lets me pinch his butt.
Right, and I have 4 kids of myself, so Dawn has 3 and I have 4, and they're all different in how much they like me to be in their space, and as they get older that changes. So I have one who really doesn't like physical touch, and so I have to respect that. It's hard because I'm a really touchy, lovey, huggy kind of mom, and it's interesting with him compared to I have a daughter who's super touchy-feely, and so it changes, and as they get older it changes as well. Around the showers or brushing your teeth or the health things, I find it's really, really important to say the why. And so as they're teenagers and preteens, you can talk about stinking and body odor and all of that kind of stuff. Like just be honest about it, about things not being clean. Like that's why we shower. When they're little, I don't really make them shower or wash their hair very often. I think that the daily bathing is a little overrated. They don't really need to be that clean all the time. And it's true, now that I've had 2 teenagers, they do at one point start to care. And I remember I had a girlfriend that was a teacher, and she had 3 boys, and she's like, Stephanie, it happens. Once they will start caring. And so your girls and your boys, they will start, hopefully, start caring about it. But it also has to be an open and frank discussion. Like, it's normal to stink after basketball practice. Go have a shower. Like, you stink. Like, I stink.
Well, I think talking about that again from a young age is great, because I just remember myself, I was very closed off from my mother, we were a single family, and I wouldn't want to discuss anything with her. And I'm so grateful that my 12-year-old will still discuss she might not let me look at her, but she will discuss anything with me, because I think we've been very open about everything. And that's important. And the importance about talking about their bodies from a young age, about using proper words, proper language. Locally here in Vancouver, there's a wonderful woman who does sex ed in the schools called Salima Noon. She talks about that a lot. It's really, really important to use the proper names for all the body parts and teach them that from a young age, so that all the way up through their teenagers. And again, I don't know, like I also don't cover up like in the house. If they come into my room, into my bathroom, I don't go like this. Like I'm very like, if you come into my room, then you have to deal with that. Right. Otherwise don't come in. Like, so teaching it that way. But I do have doors closed. If I don't want them to come in, then they have to respect that. As I do for them. So if as they're teenagers, if the door's closed, I knock. That kind of stuff. Hair and teeth and jack. So that's autonomy of the body. So again, that was number 4. So learning through experience, trial and error, letting them fail. That's what I called that first one. Like,
let them fail and let them learn from their failure. Number 2 was mastery and autonomy. Number 3 was choice. And number 4 was autonomy over their own bodies. And then the last one, it goes just rules and routines. And so you have ways that your family works, and your children have to follow those rules.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having a bazillion rules is not going to work. I remember when I first became a teacher, in our teacher education, it was like, you should put the rules up on the wall. And there was a lot of talk about what are the rules going to be in your classroom? How are you going to handle all the different situations and scenarios? And I remember like putting so much time and effort into the planning of like the first day of school. This is what we're going to talk about, all the rules in my classroom and what to do if things are late and blah, 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 blah. And the biggest thing I learned over 10 or 15 years of teaching was that was stupid, because the more rules you have, the more you have to enforce them. And so I felt like those first couple of years teaching, all I was doing was like catching people doing things wrong in order to follow the rules and enforce them. And that was like terrible. I hated it. And it's same thing I think for parenting is like, the more rules you have about everything, the more you have to enforce them. Because if you have a rule and you don't enforce it, then it's not really a rule, and it's just something that's going to drive you nuts, and it's going to drive the kids nuts, and you're going to fight over, right? So picking what your family rules are, or what it means to be a Silver, or what it means to be a Kennedy, we use that language a lot in our family. And so, like, if you had to pick, do you have any rules in your house, like big ones that you?
Yeah, they have to be kind to each other.
Okay.
Yes. They have to be kind. And then they have to help each other, whether it's at home in the house, like we help each other as a family, or when they're at school, because right now all 3 kids go to the same school. So they help each other at school if they see one's having distress in any way. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Do you have any rules around like bedtime or food or things like that?
Well, I mean, food, not really. Now that they're older, they know that when they come home from school, they can have a snack. And they know it can't be marshmallows necessarily and chocolate chips like they would want. My middle one is teaching the little one what is appropriate, which I'm loving right now. The middle one wants to please me so badly, so he's doing everything right. Not right, but doing it, right, I guess. And and then bedtime is, I mean, my kids go to bed at the same time every day, 12 months a year. I don't do summer hours and school hours. So at 8 o'clock, they know it's bedtime, and they go and they don't fight me. And so I feel like because we've done that consistently since they were super, super small, they're fine. I mean, I might now move it up to 8:30 shortly, but they know that we don't fight at bedtime almost ever. Yeah.
Some of the rules like that I have used, and I've talked about them in some other blog posts, are things like around food. Like, there's no food upstairs in my house.
Our kitchen is upstairs. So
right, you have a different house. So our upstairs is just bedrooms, and so there's no food allowed upstairs. Yeah. And it's just, that is a rule, and it saved me a whole lot, a whackload of problems. I read about all these moms of teenage boys whose room, they go into their boys' room, and there's like mold and crap.
That was me as a kid.
Same. I had ice cream bowls. Yeah. Because I would take an ice cream bowl up to my bedroom, and and then I would leave it there. But like things like that were just rules that I used from my own experience because I didn't want to deal with it. Again, I'm a lazy parent. I don't want to have to go, and I don't want to have to nag you to go get all your dishes and bring your dishes down. I don't want to have to worry that if you have a messy room that there's things growing in your room, like that there's bugs. Like every house, anywhere you live, I think has problems that if you have food, you're going to get bugs in your house, whether that's ants or in southern places, rodents. I don't know what could be coming into your house, but that's a reality. I get my house cleaned, and it's still a reality. I can get those things if there's food left out. And so that's a big one for me. And everybody has their own kind of rules, but things about like teeth brushing. I like this example that I'll end with for like rules and autonomy. It's like you have to brush your teeth. And so what do you do with a kid who doesn't want to brush their teeth? Yeah. One of the ideas was like, why do you brush your teeth? Well, we brush our teeth so we don't get cavities. What causes cavities is sugar. Everything's made of sugar, so you don't get any sweet treats until you brush your teeth. Like, and then holding true to that. It won't take very long for them to not to go back to be brushing their teeth. For sure. You know? I still remind my kids, did you brush your teeth before you left? Before you leave? Don't. And then we have a rule in our house, no lying. And so I've tried to instill that from a young age, like tell the truth, even if it's wrong. Like you're not gonna get in trouble, but like tell me the truth, and then we can deal with it. Lying is a big one. You're not allowed to lie in my house. And so far, I mean, I don't know, maybe they've lied to me, but nothing about, I don't think, anything big at this point. And so I can tell when they lie too, like, or when they hesitate, like, have you brushed your teeth? You know, okay, go do it. I don't give them an option to lie. I'll just say, okay, well, go do it.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
My little one sort of lies once in a while, and I have to catch her on that and really reinforce why that's so important that she doesn't lie.
Right.
So those are the 5, and that takes us to our half hour. So 5 tips and tricks for dealing with strong-willed kids. I mean, any parenting toddlers, tweens, or teenagers. These are just, I think, really effective strategies that ultimately all go back to around the idea around your children want power over their own lives and their own decisions. And yes, that's hard work, and it takes more time, but ultimately it preserves the relationship between you and your child, keeps it positive. The more positive that relationship is, where they don't see you as a nag, they don't see you as unfair, they don't see you as like all of those pieces, the mean parent, the more they have responsibility over those things. I think you preserve that relationship, and it will come back in bountiful ways when they're teenagers and young adults, which is what feel like I'm now reaping the reward of all of that, because 2 out of my 4 are now in their teenagehood, and I feel like through the roughest part, like they're all now grade 10, 11, 12. That to me, like, they're normal, good humans. We'll see what, hopefully, things will continue. I have 2 more to go through that. But the effort that I put in when they were young, teaching them those things and really giving them responsibility and all of that was really, really key in me having pretty smooth sailing through teenagehood so far.
One of the things I think about all the time is how will they look back on their childhood?
Yeah.
And I definitely, when my baby was a baby, I was very, he cried a lot, and I was very stressed out. And I remember I was not maybe not nice as in not like hitting them, but I was just unhappy all the time. Yeah. And so like, I feel like that is now far faded from the memories. And I just want them to feel like they had a happy childhood, and not because I'm letting them get away with whatever they want, but because we were able to work together.
Right. And it's not about being a permissive parent. No. It's about picking your battles, and it's about, letting them deal with their own consequences, because ultimately they have to leave your house and go out into the world, and they have to make choices, and they either have to fall on the sword, or whatever the saying is, like, they have to deal with those consequences of their actions. You can't, that's not your job, right? So I'm a big proponent of that. I think it's really, really important. And I think, ultimately you want to be seen as someone they can come to for help, advice, and guidance, especially once they're out of your house. Like, I hope they come back and not ask me for permission to do things in their life, but to get my take on it, right? Like, I want to be like that for them. I want to be someone they can come to and ask for my advice, but not, I would probably be very careful about how I give it, but just talk about the pros and cons of different things. Yeah. I hope that that's how they work through things in their lives.
Well, and they're find out soon enough.
And they're going to fail. Things are going to go wrong and not work out, and they have to be okay with that, and they have to figure out how to move on.
Yeah. And them knowing how to deal with their consequences at a young age means that they will know that then you're not necessarily going to bail them out when they're older.
No, and though I hope they know that I will be there for the really big things. Yes. Like that I won't get mad when something, I just remember that with my own parents, that as hard as I feel like my parents were on us, I knew that when something really bad happened, that they just wanted me to be safe. Yeah. Right? And that they were there. No questions asked, kind of. They would just be there to help me in those issues. Because again, they're teenagers, which means their brains don't work properly. I just had this discussion with one of my teenagers saying, you realize that when you're 13 or 14, your brain is almost completely rewiring itself. Yeah. From the time that you're 1 to 5, that is now happening all over again. And so everything you do in your life, when you're 14, 13, 15, 16, all the way at like that time, like it has lasting impact on how your brain is going to work when you are an adult. And so I talk about that a lot, and I scare them a little bit. Like, that's why you don't do drugs and you don't drink, because you're interfering with the way that your brain is reforming. And that as a teenager, understanding that you are an impulsive creature. You don't know how to think 5 steps away from where you are. And as a parent, I can't expect them to think that they're going to figure out what the consequences of their actions are. So I have to tell them and help guide them through that, and that hope for the best.
Right. Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. We're done. Thanks for coming. If you're coming on now late and you watched this in the replay and you made it all the way through the 35 minutes, then you are a superstar. So put down #replay in the comments. And I hope you found it interesting, or write a comment which of those 5 you use the most with your own kids. The idea of these videos is really to start a discussion between all the moms and the parents, to learn from each other and share our successes and our struggles so that we can all make it through with intentionally parenting our children in a positive way.
Yes.
So we can all be lazy moms of teenagers. Woohoo! And just have a good time.
Oh.
All right. Bye.